Hola, mi gente. In this Thursday episode, I'm just going to do some storytelling. A few things have happened to me in my life, which I think some of you may relate. I hope it's interesting, so I'm just going to tell you the story. How should I start? I'm not going to do the once upon the time thing because it happened recently. But I should go back and tell you where I'm coming from. Because I had, for a long time, a severe disability. My leg was like this. I'm going to show you the picture over here. My leg was like this, so I looked, to use the euphemism, funny. I looked weird. Even when I came to America, I remember people were always looking at me. People didn't know what was happening. People didn't know that I broke my leg. People wondered, even when, even during my first year at the master school in Duffer in New York, it was very, very difficult because, I had for me, who was a shy, introverted kid, it was very, very difficult to always be the center of attention. People always wonder, who's this, black girl who is from Africa? Why does she look weird? I looked weird. So it has always had an impact on my American experience. A huge impact on my American experience. It was impossible for me to just go somewhere and not be noticed. It was impossible for me to go anywhere and not have to answer, to be asked questions, which I didn't even know how to answer, which I didn't want to answer. The question was never just where are you from, your accent, whatever, whatever. But it was always what happened to you, what happened to your leg. And I felt that it was a very intrusive question. I remember, my first month at the UN, it was 2004. The new director of human resources, which was my boss. We meet in the same elevator. And her first question is not, who are you? What's your name? But her first question is, what happened to your leg? And I just, bam! I was very, very tough. I told her, it's none of your business. She took it very badly and never forgave me for that. But I was right. It was none of her business. And would I have changed my tone and my answer if I'd known that it was my boss? Maybe, but I don't think I should have had to. But anyway, I will tell you the UN story more about my UN experience, some of the time. But yeah, that's something that happened, and it ends badly because the the boss never forgives me for that, and basically um, feels that I tried to make a point because she was new. The people in the office didn't feel like she deserved her job, and she felt that I was just expressing, even though I was new, and I knew nothing about office politics. But to make a point about the story, to basically start telling it, I need to tell you another story. This happened to me in New York. It was in Manhattan, around Fifth Avenue, close to where I used to work. So I was waiting for a cab to go to a meeting. So I'm basically trying to stop a cab. I have my crutches, I have the leg just like this, and I'm waiting. So yeah, and this cab driver feels like I'm asking for money, and I'm waiting, trying to get a cab, and the cab is just handing me a $5 bill, thinking that I'm basically begging for money. And I'm just saying, no, I'm waiting for a cab. But he feels like, with the way I look, with my disability, there is no way I can be anybody other than a beggar, than somebody who's asking for money, who's begging, basically. There are a lot of stories like that in my life. So yeah, this story happens, about, yeah, it starts last year. I will just say it like that. It doesn't happen in America, so it tells you something, or it starts something about my experience in Europe. Okay, I will just say, so that my Belgian friends don't get mad at me. This doesn't happen in Belgium, although it could have. So this isn't a Belgian story, okay? So I'm walking. I like to exercise. It started during the pandemic, where I needed to do something to basically deal with my dad's death and with everything that happened to me. Another surgery, very, very violent episode with the Brussels bar. Very, very, so it was very tough for me to deal with that, with the confinement. So I needed to do something. So during the time where we could get out, I would walk. I would walk a lot. I started doing like 5K a day, 6 times a week at my best. That is what I was doing. So last year I did it again because I did the marathon for all in Paris during the Olympics. I'm showing the picture here. Yeah, so I did that. Walking is one of the things I love to do because it makes it possible for me not to have to think too much. I'm an introvert, and to be able to deal with my emotions, to be able to deal with everything that's happening to me right now, I need to exercise. Even with my leg, with everything else, I need to exercise. So I was outside. Around one of the places where I live in Europe, there's a lot of places where you can walk. So you meet a lot of your neighbors. Usually they say hello to me because they're used to seeing me walk around the place. So they're very, very, most of the time, very enthusiastic and say, "Go girl." So I'm walking and I see this woman. She's white. And she looks at me. I think I met her when I was walking around. We crossed paths the first time, and she was talking to somebody. But I was listening to music on my iPhone. So yeah, that's one of the things I like to do. Or I listen to her an audiobook. I love to do that. I started listening to audiobook because of Martha Nussbaum. She said she was doing, it, and I was like, yeah. If Martha Nussbaum listens to books, I will start. That means that it's okay. I will start doing that. So yeah, I'm listening to something. Starts talking to me, um, and says to me, "Do you believe in Christ?" And I'm like, man, this is like an American thing. That's something that happens here in America, where people feel like they can talk to you about religion no matter where you are. In Europe, it doesn't really happen that much. It's changing, with times are changing, but it used not to happen as frequently as it is happening now. So the first thing she says to me, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And I'm like, to me, guys, you have to understand that because of my disability, people feel like they have to get me to believe in their God or in their religion. In the French episode of the podcast, I will do it in English too. I talked about the fact that when I got to college, this sect, the Moonists, did their best to convince me to join their ranks. It didn't work because um, let me put it this way. I'm a tough cookie. I'm a tough nut to crack. So this lady starts with "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And I'm like, why? Why? And I said to her, no. I'm sensing that something is a bit off, but I'm trying to be polite and not to be rude. I'm mindful of the fact that I can be very, very abrupt. But she keeps, trying to start a conversation with me. And I'm basically saying, you know what, Christelle, we are going to be nice. It's a nice day. We are going to be nice. Life is beautiful. Things are happening for you. So just be tolerant, okay? So I'm listening to her. We talk. She's asking me, yeah, what do you do? I tell her I'm a lawyer, member of the DC Bar, the District of Columbia Bar Association, etc., etc. We walk. She tells me, oh, um, are you American? And I told her I'm originally from Cameroon. She says, my husband is African too. I'm gonna go to America because she lives in America, and we should do something. And I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to be polite because I'm not really interested, but she keeps insisting. She said, "We just get married, and and I want to be, since you're a lawyer, do you think, I'm trying to, basically go live in America to live with my husband because we just got married and everything else." So to me, I'm like, okay, sounds interesting, but do I want to know more? But there's nothing I can do because this woman, now that she knows that I'm from Africa, I'm originally from Cameroon. Her husband is originally from Zimbabwe. She feels like, she can tell me everything. So she starts and she starts and she starts. Yeah, so we walk. Thank God. We get to the point where I have to go to the other side. She said, "Yeah, do you want my number?" And I'm like, "Sure." But she gives it to me, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm never really gonna call, whatever. So that's the way the first part of the story ends. I feel like, man, this is weird because the fact to me that she started with the Christ thing tells me something about her. But I'm like, hey, Christelle, don't do something that you don't want people to do. Don't make assumptions about people, okay? But that still is in my head. So, unfortunately for me, I meet her the second time. I'm about to go for a walk, and I see her getting out of her house, and she's in her car. And she said, "You never called me." I lie. You shouldn't lie, but I lied. I said, "Oh, yeah, I think I lost your number." And she's like, "Yo, yeah, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to call my husband." And she calls her husband. "Honey, this is the African lady I talked to you about." It was just before the election. It was just before. And he says, "So, yeah, when are you coming back to the US? Yeah, we need to meet." And I'm like, I'm trying to be nice. The guy is like, he's younger, quite a bit younger. But I'm thinking, none of my business. I'm an open person. They just got married. You're an attorney, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but she has to go. I have to go, and I have to give her my number because this is the second time we're meeting. And if I don't do that, that means that I'm trying not to be impolite. I've decided in life to be nice and not to be too abrupt and to give people a chance, even when I feel like I shouldn't do it. Sometimes, like in this case, it backfires. Immediately when I get home, she starts texting me. She says to me, "Oh yeah, I'm traveling just after, it was the day after the election. I'm going to America to spend the holidays with my husband. Yeah, do you want, I need to talk to you about my immigration case and everything else. Yeah." And I'm like, oh man, I don't do immigration law. I don't want to deal with this, whatever. But, I'm telling to myself, I answered, I said, have a safe flight, now that, America is Trump country, let's hope things go well because you're married to an African who is trying to get his American citizenship and who hasn't had it yet. So it's going to be tough. But anyway, she goes to America. And so, yeah, I think 2 weeks after she calls me and she says, yeah, and can you do something about my case? I'm trying to basically get my green card, live with my husband because, I want to give, I don't want to go back to Europe. I want to stay with my husband because we're newlyweds and everything. And I tell her, listen, um, um, I think it's better for you to get an immigration attorney. If you want me to recommend somebody, I recommend somebody. But this is not really something that I do. But I think you should really, if you want me to recommend you somebody, I will tell. She said, "Okay, I'm going to think about it." That's basically stopped it there. Yeah. So yeah, the holidays are happening. I get a text 2 days before Christmas. She says to me, "Oh, I'm back." And I'm like, why is she back 2 days before Christmas? But anyway, I'll still, yeah, happy holidays to you, whatever. It stops there. So January of this year, I she writes to me and I feel really, really bad because I've been avoiding her. So I said, when I get the time, we should get a cup of coffee. Well, she takes that as a sign that I want to hear more. She says to me, "You should really talk to my husband because he has this case that has to do with South Africa, with his status. I think we really, really need help of an attorney and whatever." And I tell her, I'm not sure I'm the right person, to that she's talking to, but I will listen and then I will tell you what I think and whether I can recommend somebody or what I will take on the case. So I'm working at home and she just calls a video call. And unfortunately for me, I pick up and I see her and I see her husband. I'm like, "Hey guys, you know what? I will call you. I'm in a meeting right now. I will call you back." So I don't really want to call them back because I feel like, man, this is, a bit much. But yeah, I call her back. I don't put the video on. I just talk to, I say, "Okay, I'm good." The husband says, "I really need to talk to somebody about a case and about my status and whatever." His wife hangs up and I start talking to the guy who's in America. He tells me, "I'm from Zimbabwe. I left Zimbabwe a long time ago. I went to South Africa. Thanks to the UN, I was able to get to America, blah, blah, blah." I'm going to spare you the details. But the case feels weird because he tells me how they met to a Bible study online. He was going through a divorce. She also was going through a divorce. She felt that God was telling her to marry him. They get married very, very quickly. Yeah, and he's telling me that now they're having trouble, but he has this case in South Africa. He has a disabled daughter. Yeah, you know, for me, I think she started talking to me because of two things: the African thing and the disabled thing, disabled daughter thing. So he tells me he's the only one who takes care of his daughter. He tells me a story that's so complicated because I feel like disability matters. I have trouble just putting an end to it and politely declining. I'm saying to myself, hey, Christelle, you have to listen. People um, haven't given you the opportunity to hear you. So you have to go to the extra mile to listen to people. You have to do something that you don't want to do because disability matters. African lives matter. So you have to listen to this guy's story, even though it feels funny. So I listen. He tells me at some point that his ex-wife became a lesbian. It's so complicated. It's all over the place. And I'm like, God, God. So we spent about 2 hours on the phone. At the end of it, I said, okay, listen, let me call you back tomorrow. We're going to talk some more. And you told me a lot, and I think you need to simplify it because I need to know the core of the story to know what I can do, what I could recommend somebody or not. The next day, even though I don't want to, guys, I don't want to, but I'm thinking the extra mile, we have to lead by example. You say that African lives matter. You say that disability matters. This is an African in America who needs help. So listen to his story, even though it's taking you a lot of time, even though it is testing your patience and your tolerance. I call him the next day. We spend about 30 minutes, and I'm just like, hmm. I was supposed to have coffee with his wife the next day, and it was snowing, so I used that excuse not to go. And it never felt right because a lot was being pushed on me. This lady then kept texting me the numbers of other Africans saying, I know this lady who wants to become a lawyer. She works for the State Department, blah, 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 blah. It was always the African or the disabled thing and the Jesus thing. And I felt like, man, do I have to listen to that? Do I have to listen to that? So I didn't know how to put some distance between me and those people. The husband, the weekend after, told me, so can you help me? Can you do the work that I wanted you to do? And I said to him, I will think about it. I will get back to you. I never got back to him. Why am I telling you this story? This week, I get a text around midnight. And the lady's basically urgently saying, oh, yeah, I need you urgently to tell your personal matter. Something, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I have too much work. I'm writing. I'm doing the podcast. I'm working. I don't want to do this. I'm like, why? Why is this lady feels that she can talk to me about urgent matters? I'm not her friend. I'm not her lawyer. We've met twice. We talked maybe twice on the phone. Why does she feel like she has to tell me personal matters? She left me voice messages. She found out where I will live. We live in the same neighborhood, but she knew where I live. She contacted somebody in the neighborhood who we have the same friend in New York. And she called my New York friend saying that she's getting a divorce with her new husband who's African. And she's panicking because she opened a common bank account with the guy. And she's trying to figure out how not to get him to take all the money. And I'm like, wow. But guys, I wanted to tell you the story, not to divulge the personal matters of a woman. This is the type of thing that happened um, when you're from Cameroon or from Africa, outside of Africa. It happens too often. I thought it would happen less in 2025 and 2024, whatever. I thought it would happen less. Where people feel that if they're married to an African, that automatically they can do whatever they want with somebody, with another African, that you're a part of the same family, and that they can't be invasive, intrusive. You know, they can ask you personal questions, they can tell you personal things, and they can involve you in their personal life because she's married to what she considers to be my African brother. What can I do about this thing? You know, we never signed anything. I was trying to be polite by listening to her like you would do to somebody that you're trying to be very, very nice and maybe friendly with, but we never became friends. We saw each other twice. And it started with Jesus Christ. And then now I'm like, man, do people really marry people that they don't know because they meet in the Bible study group online? Why would you do that? And why would you open a common account, bank account with somebody that you barely met, even though you just married him? Why would you, in 2025, don't you have one night stand or a fling? Do you need to marry a fling, even when it's an African? To me, that's, I don't know, that's part of the um, African experience in Europe. In America, it happens, but it's different. It doesn't have this. The religion thing is the born again thing is very, 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 very American, yeah. Where, people are always going to talk to you about Jesus, telling you that they pray for you in New York and, you know, in DC and in American town. But this thing where this lady goes through all of those hoops to basically, uh, I don't know, because you're disabled, because you're African, and she feels that she can do that. Because of my experience, I'm still having a tough time finding the right balance. But I don't know how to say to people, no, I'm not interested, without feeling like I'm being rude. Most often than not, people are going to say, oh my God, she's uppity. Oh my God, she's rude. But I should have found a way to say to this lady, I'm not interested, or thank you, to be polite and to basically decline. But how do you do that? If you have ideas, write to me in the comments. But why? 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 Why do people who are not Africans feel like we're all the same and that we're from the same family and that we have everything in common and we can't be different? That it's impossible for us not to um be friends and not to be, I don't understand that. And not, that invasiveness, that to think that people will never do with two people from France or from for Belgium, you know. I've had, relationship with people from, other, but I never, when I meet somebody else from France or from whatever, or Spain, say, oh yeah, my husband is from Spain. Do you need to meet him? And call him and say, yeah, look, honey, somebody from your neck of the woods. I mean, I don't know. And in my case, triple threat: woman, African, disability. How do you deal with people? How do you make people see that no, you don't want to be dealt through that prism? You don't want relationship where people feel like um, you need something, that you're asking for something, for sympathy or for pity or for their compassion. Claire Denis, she's a French filmmaker. She said something that I've always loved about Africa. She grew up in French Africa. She knows Cameroon a little bit. She said, she talked about the refusal of compassion, that it was very, very important when it comes to Africa and to Africans. I'm not asking for compassion. No. If you give it, yeah, but I'm not asking for it. I don't need it. That's something that I said to the current SG, Secretary General of the UN. I told him I'm asking for compassion. I'm asking for respect. I'm asking for my rights. I'm asking for consideration, not pity, not special treatment. So this episode, Miante, was about storytelling. So, you guys, do you relate? How do you say no when people feel compelled, to just invade your privacy and your space and feel that you have to explain um, Africa, your disability, your experience to them because you're different, because you're weird, and because the way you look make them believe, give them an excuse to believe that they can do that and that you need their compassion. Yeah. I hope you liked today's episode, Miante. Follow my channel, enjoy your weekend, and see you next Tuesday for another episode in English. Guys, let me know how I'm doing. See you Tuesday.